Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever read about some totally groundbreaking study, maybe a massive new medical finding or some crazy statistical discovery, and just stopped to wonder, wait, how do they actually know this is true? I mean, every single day we rely on the knowledge generated by researchers to make huge decisions about our health, our environment, and our society. But how is all that knowledge built? And more importantly, what keeps it from just collapsing under the weight of human error or, worse, human greed?
So I really want you to think about this core question. How do we actually trust the creation of knowledge? Because when a scientist or a scholar publishes their findings, they're essentially asking the entire world to take a giant leap of faith with them. But let's be real, blind faith isn't very scientific, right? We need a solid system. We need a set of strict guardrails to solve this whole problem of credibility in scholarly inquiry. We have to know that the information we're consuming isn't just someone's wild guess, but a rigorously tested reality.
Well, the answer to that lies in research ethics. You can think of this as the moral backbone of scholarly inquiry. Just like your physical backbone gives your body structure, keeps you standing upright, and protects your delicate nervous system, research ethics give critical structure to inquiry. This backbone ensures that the creation of knowledge remains credible, responsible, and respectful. It is the ultimate safeguard. It protects the integrity of the research itself, sure, but it also protects the participants involved, the institutions funding it, and, well, society at large.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to break down 9 core principles, grouped into 3 overarching areas: precision in the process, respecting people and peers, and benefiting society at large. Then we'll wrap it all up with the essence of trust.
Starting off with Section 1, Precision in the Process. This focuses strictly on the data and the method of inquiry.
To make absolutely sure the data collection process remains pure and completely reliable, researchers have to stick to 3 foundational principles: honesty, objectivity, and carefulness. Without these 3 operating at the very ground floor of a study, the entire structure of the research is basically guaranteed to crumble.
Now, what's really interesting about this dynamic is how they work together. Honesty is truthful reporting. That means absolutely no fabricating data just because it makes your findings sound cooler. You can't just casually leave out the data that doesn't fit your theory. Objectivity, on the other hand, is all about neutrality. It means avoiding bias sampling in your design, analysis, and interpretation. So honesty prevents a researcher from faking the data, while objectivity prevents a researcher's personal preferences or even their unconscious biases from ruining the design of the study. The findings have to reflect reality, not just what the researcher wishes reality was.
Which brings us to the 3rd principle in this group: carefulness. Look, you can be perfectly honest and completely objective, but if you're sloppy, your research is still totally compromised. Carefulness is that crucial final step of the process. It demands strict precision in data handling, analysis, and documentation. Think of it as the rigorous, everyday habit of double-checking your calculations. By being obsessively careful, researchers cut down on errors and massively enhance the reliability of their work.
Moving right along to Section 2, Respecting People and Peers. Here, we're shifting our focus away from the raw data and looking directly at the human beings involved.
There are 4 core principles that govern interactions with research participants, institutions, and collaborators. Those are integrity, openness, intellectual property, and confidentiality.
Researchers are basically walking a delicate tightrope every single day. On one side, you have openness, the drive to be transparent, share your methodology, invite critique, and advance human knowledge by letting others replicate your study. But on the other side, there's confidentiality. This is the absolute mandate to protect privacy and safeguard sensitive data. So researchers have to constantly navigate this tricky tension, sharing just enough methodology to push collective knowledge forward while strictly guarding sensitive info to protect the identities and the well-being of their participants.
And to maintain that balance, researchers rely heavily on integrity, which means upholding your commitments to participants without fail. Meanwhile, respecting intellectual property demands absolute fairness and proper recognition of original work. It means actively acknowledging your sources and, obviously, avoiding plagiarism. It just ensures that original contributions actually get the credit they deserve.
All right, Section 3, Benefiting Society at Large. We're pulling the lens way back now to look at how scholarly inquiry interacts with the entire world. Because, research absolutely does not happen in a vacuum. It has a massive macro-level impact on all of us. And to manage that impact, scholars rely on the final 2 core principles: responsible publication and social responsibility. Let's see how this actually builds into the real world. Responsible publication is all about accountability. It means disseminating your results accurately and fairly. You aren't out there trying to game the system with duplicate submissions or making misleading clickbait claims about your findings just to get attention. But social responsibility takes that a huge step further. It's the broader obligation that your research must actually benefit society. It means actively avoiding harm and purposely promoting justice, equity, and sustainability. A great example? Focusing your research on sustainable practices that actually help the planet, rather than just, chasing academic clout.
Finally, Section 4, the essence of trust. Let's synthesize everything we've just learned about this moral backbone.
All of these lofty, abstract ideals we've been talking about, they aren't just philosophy. They translate directly into concrete, everyday realities. Whether it's literally double-checking math to ensure carefulness or making sure you're citing sources to protect intellectual property, every single ethical ideal has a highly practical, actionable counterpart that researchers are required to follow.
This actionable framework is absolutely vital, because without this moral backbone, research is, it's literally just raw data gathering. It's just people writing down numbers on a page. It has no soul, no credibility, and zero safety net. But when you have these 9 principles actively engaged, it transforms into a highly trusted, deeply responsible practice, one that we can genuinely build our entire civilization on.
So the crucial point here is that by upholding these principles, researchers ensure their work doesn't just advance knowledge, but actually serves humanity with fairness and respect. That is the ultimate goal, not just being smart, but being good. Not just pushing the boundaries of what we know, but doing it in a way that truly respects the dignity of everyone involved.
I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder today. How does ethical research impact your daily life? The very next time you read a flashy headline about a new scientific breakthrough, or maybe you decide to change your diet based on a brand new study, take a second to remember the invisible moral backbone holding all that knowledge up. Think about the carefulness, the absolute honesty, and the deep respect for human participants that had to happen long, long before that headline ever reached your screen. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep asking the right questions.